Hello everyone and welcome back to Self-Plays, and today we are going to be discussing the top SMGs and SMG loadouts after the recent update in the Season 5 Reloaded, and we are also going to be talking about what I believe should be the SMG meta after the recent update. So let's get into it. So the first one I want to talk about is going to be the Bullfrog. Now the Bullfrog, I believe that this gun does not have the best TTKs, but it is super consistent. It is also very easy to use. It is very forgiving. It has very low recoil and has decent ranges, so you can also use this as a sniper support. So, and one thing I like about the Bullfrog is that it comes with a base 50 round magazine, so that actually frees up a slot for you to use. So the build that I like to use with the Bullfrog is the Glue Suppressor, the Bruiser Grip, the KGB Skeletal Stock, the Tec9 Spotlight. So those are the four attachments that I would recommend. The final attachment is sort of up to you. You can use an optic, you can increase the magazine capacity if you want, you can also use a barrel. Now the barrel, I would recommend either the Task Force, but if you believe that the recoil is a bit much, I would prefer using the Reinforced Heavy, and this increases your bullet velocity. So if you want to stretch out ranges with the Bullfrog, this is the build that I would recommend you to use. If you do not need a barrel, I would take it off and I would put on the Microflex LED. And these are the few variations that I would use with the Bullfrog. Next up is going to be the PPSH, and the PPSH did receive a slight buff. They reduced the initial jump of the recoil, and I believe that it made the gun quite usable even at range, and it is better than the Bullfrog in my opinion. So the build that I would recommend using with the PPSH would be the same: the Glue Suppressor, the Bruiser Grip, the 55 round mags. You could go with the 70, but I just like a speedy, fast ADS gun. That's why I don't prefer using the 71 round mags. I think the 55 round mags are enough, but if you want to use it, you can still get away with it. I would also use the Raider stock, and with that I would use the Tec9 Spotlight, and this is the build that I would use with the PPSH. Now if you believe that you need a bit more bullet velocity or a bit more range, I would drop the Raider stock and I would put on the Task Force barrel, and that would be my build for the PPSH. I think the PPSH can do well as a sniper support now, so give it a go, try it out, see how it feels. Coming on to the AK-74U. Now the AK, I don't like how they treated the AK-74U. I expected a gun that would have, I would say, a slow fire rate but a high damage output, but that is not the route they went with the AK-74U. But the AK-74U does have good recoil and it has decent ranges, so it actually makes for a good sniper support. And the build I would use for the AK-74U would be the Glue Suppressor, the Task Force barrel, the Bruiser Grip, the 50 round mags, and the Tec9 Spotlight. You could also take off the Bruiser Grip and put on the Tec9 if you are only using this as a sniper support, and if you believe you need even more recoil control, I would take off the Task Force and I would put on the Reinforced Heavy. I do recommend using the AK-74U for sniper support, but if you want to use it as an SMG, I would just completely take off the barrel. I would again put on the Bruiser Grip and I would put on the KGB stock, and this is the build that I would use. So, but for some reason I do not think the AK-74U works all that well as an SMG, for me at least, but you can try it out, see how it feels for you. On paper the TTKs are decent and they are competitive. Coming on to the CX9. Now the CX9 I believe is quite underrated. It is a very good gun. It has very good TTKs. They are very competitive. The reason I think it's not picked as much is because of the mobility. The Modern Warfare guns have awful mobility compared to the Cold War guns, and that has mainly to do with the attachments. Every attachment you put on this gun hurts its mobility. Now you can have two builds for this. One is an ADS build and one is a hipfire build. The hipfire build would be the Mono Suppressor, no barrel, the 5mm laser, the Merc foregrip, the 50 round mags, and the CXFR stock. This does make the gun quite fast when it comes to movement. It is not as fast as the Cold War guns, but it is competitive, so you can still use this build to outgun and abuse your movement. and it is very, very good when it comes to hip firing. If you like the Modern Warfare MP5, you will really like the CX9 when it comes to hip firing with this build. So if you like hip firing, do give this build a try. Now the other build I would use is that I would take off the 5 milliwatt laser and I would put on the CX38S stock. This does come with a suppressor built-in, and I would use the attack laser with this build. And this would be a build I would prefer if you do not like hip firing with this gun, or if you do not hip fire per se. So this is the build that I would go with. If you haven't used the CX9 as yet, do try it out. I really like it. I think it is a very, very underrated gun. Moving on to the MP7 now. I believe the MP7 has been under the radar for a while. What people don't realize is when they had the entire weapons overhaul back in Season 4 Reloaded, the MP7 did not get nerfed. So that made the MP7's GTKs quite competitive when it came to SMGs. So there are two builds you can use with the MP7. Because the MP7 has such clean iron sights and such low recoil, you can also get away with using the MP7 as a sniper support. So the build I will use with the MP7 when it comes to using it as an SMG would be the mono. You could use the FSS strike or the FSS recon barrel, because the FSS strike does not hurt your mobility. So I would go with the FSS strike. I would not use an underbarrel with this. I would use the 50 round mags with the Forge Tac ultralight stock, and I would put on the tac laser, and this would be my build for the MP7. And this gun is quite fast when it comes to mobility with this build. If you wanted a bit more recoil control, I would drop the FSS strike and put on the FSS recon. The underbarrels do hurt your mobility quite a bit, so I would not prefer going that route. So now it comes if you want to use this gun as a sniper support. So for the sniper support, I would drop the stock and I would just put on the Commander foregrip and the 60 round mags, because you need that extra ammunition if you are stretching out the ranges. This is the build that I would use as a sniper support. You could also take off the tac laser and put on an optic, and this would make a decent sniper support, because they also remove the final drop off, the third drop off for the MP7, so it is decent at range. So if you haven't tried out the MP7 in a while, I would definitely recommend picking it up and trying it out again, and you will not be disappointed. Now this might surprise a few people, but I would put the Modern Warfare AUG quite competitive now, because the TTKs on this thing are absolutely insane when it comes to SMGs. And with the 5.56 ammunition, you can also use this gun as a very, very good sniper support. But the only thing that I believe holds this gun back is the mobility. Once you put on the 60 round mags of this gun, it makes you very, very slow. So what build do I use with the Modern Warfare AUG to make it work? I put on the mono suppressor. I do not use an underbarrel. I use the 60 round drum mags, the tac laser. With that, I prefer using the ultralight hollow stock, and I use the GME reflex because I hate the iron sights on this thing. And if you think you don't mind the iron sights on the Modern Warfare AUG, I would drop the optic and I would put on maybe the rubberized grip tape or the stripper grip tape for even faster spin to fire and ADS speeds. And those would be the builds that I would use for the Modern Warfare AUG. This thing has amazing TTKs, and the only thing that holds it back is the 60 round mags. But if you haven't tried out the Modern Warfare AUG in a while, do try it out, especially as a sniper support. You will not be disappointed. This gun does amazing when it comes to TTKs, so do give it a shot. Up next is going to be the Modern Warfare MP5. Now the Modern Warfare MP5 did receive a nerf, and then they also nerfed the 10mm rounds, but I think they stealth buffed the standard magazine again, because if you do check out the stats on True Game Data's website, you will see that this gun still has amazing TTKs if you are using the base magazine. So I would use the 45 round mags, the Merc foregrip, the mono suppressor, the 5mm laser, and the F-Tac collapsible stock. This is the standard build for the MP5 we've all known and loved, and this is the build that I would recommend using with the MP5. This gun is a hip firing machine, and one thing that I prefer doing with the Modern Warfare MP5 is I don't like using the 5mm laser. Instead, I put on the 1mm laser, so that I don't give away my position when I'm pushing multiple people in buildings. So this is the build that I use. If you do not care about exposing your position, just go with the standard 5 milliwatt laser. This is the only way you should be using the model of MP5, and this is a very reliable and the old good gun. Now moving on to the Cold War MP5. Now I would put the Cold War MP5 a bit above the modern of MP5 because of its mobility. There's only one build I recommend using with the Cold War MP5, and that would be the agency suppressor, the bruiser grip, the 50 round drum mag, the Tec9 spotlight, and the Raider stock. This is the only build that I would use with the modern of MP5 with the Cold War MP5, because this build makes you, so far that you just fly across the map, it makes you use and abuse your mobility to its maximum. It is a very good gun, and with all the recent nerfs to the OTS, the MP5, the Cold War MP5 is in a very good state when it comes to TTKs. If you haven't used this gun ever since it was nerfed, I do recommend trying it out again. You will not be disappointed with this build, especially if you are someone that has decent and good movement. So do give it a shot. And finally we have the Tec9. Now do remember that these top 3, top 4 guns can be switched up and down. These aren't exactly, I would say, a ranking of the SMGs, but the top 4, or I believe the top 4, top 5 guns can be interchanged according to your play style and what feels good to you. Now the Tec9 is a very good gun. It has very good TTKs, it has very good range. The one thing that holds the Tec9 back is the fact that you cannot suppress this gun. You have to use the full auto repeater, and there is no option to suppress this gun. It does have position concealment, so you won't be on the minimap for as long as you would be if you find an unsuppressed weapon, but still you will show up on the minimap. So the build for the Tec9 would be the full auto repeater, the bruiser grip, the 48 round mags. With that I would put on the Tec9 spotlight and the Raider stock, and this would be the build for the Tec9 if you are using this only as a close range SMG. If you want to use this gun as a sniper support, which it does perform pretty well, I would take off the Raider stock and I would put on the task force barrel. And if you think the recoil is a bit much using the task force barrel, I would drop that and I would put on the reinforced heavy barrel. You could also put on an optic, but then you would have to hurt your mobility a bit, and in that case I would recommend taking off the bruiser grip and putting on an optic for this gun. Now you can use this gun CR fields. I really like using the Tec9 when I pick it up from the ground, but I do not like using the Tec9 when it comes to using it in my loadout. So you could use the top 3, top 5 weapons in this list according to which one feels the best for you. Use these guns, see which one works and performs the best in your hands and according to your playstyle. So there you have it. Those are my recommendations for the SMGs after the recent updates and in Season 5 Reloaded. We are going to be seeing a lot more changes when it comes to the guns in the future. So try these loadouts out, try these attachment combinations out, see which one works the best for you. Let me know in the comments below which one worked the best and which one you preferred the most. Do like the video if you like the content, and please do consider subscribing to my channel. I will see you all next time.